Hey, foodie friends. So, listen, I like pumpkin pie just as much as the next guy. But for this year, I thought, why not do something different for the holiday dessert? So, this is going to be my kind of take on a choco flan, but for the holidays. So, it's going to be an eggnog flan and a pumpkin cake. Now, let's get saucy. All right, foodie friends. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our bunt pan is really well lubricated. So I use some Baker's Joy. You could do some vegetable oil or some cooking spray, whatever you have. But just make sure that your pan is really, really well greased for this, right? Now, the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna make the caramel. So for that, I'm just gonna put a cup of sugar in a pot on the stove, and I'm gonna cook this over medium heat. And I'm gonna be stirring it constantly. So you're gonna see that as the sugar starts to melt, it's gonna get clumpy a little bit, but as it continues to melt, those clumps are just gonna melt into the sugar. Now, traditionally, I think this is made with a cajeta, which is a caramel that's made with goat's milk. But I just decided to go ahead and make my own caramel. No liquid in this caramel at all, just straight dry caramel. And then we're going to now take that caramel and very carefully, because this is super, super hot, guys. The sugar, when it melts, gets so crazy hot. So I put my bunt pan on top of a cork hot pad, and we're going to very carefully pour this in here and just let it kind of spread all over the bottom of the pan. And we will set that to the side, and that's going to set up and get kind of hard. All right, so I have my stand mixer set up here, and I am going to be using a boxed pumpkin cake mix for this. Now, if you have your own pumpkin cake recipe that you want to use, absolutely fine, go ahead. I just thought that I would make this a little bit easier with that pumpkin cake mix. So into my stand mixer, I'm just going to add in the box of cake mix, and I'm going to put in everything that goes with that. So half of a cup of vegetable oil, 1 cup, typically this would be water, but I'm replacing it with ginger ale. It's going to add a little extra flavor and lighten up the cake a little bit more. So in that goes, and then 3 eggs. So once that's done, we're going to fit with our paddle attachment and go ahead and give that a good mix. And you know what? I forgot I wanted to add a little bit of extra pumpkin pie spice. The mix already does have some ginger and nutmeg and cinnamon in there, but I want to bump that up a little bit. So stop my mixer and just added a little bit more of that in, and then give it another good mix. All right, so our cake is mixed up and we've scraped everything down. And then we're just gonna bring our pan back, our bunt pan, and we're gonna layer our cake mix in on top of our caramel. So that's gonna go in there. We're gonna smooth out the top, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then we're gonna again set that aside because now we're gonna make the flan part. Right, so for my flan, I'm gonna mix it in this measuring cup rather. This big measuring cup. It's a 4 cup, I think, measuring cup. Yeah. So I'm gonna mix it in here just to make it easier on myself when I want to pour it into my pan. So into there, we're gonna put our 3 eggs, and I'm gonna give those a little bit of a whisk just to get them started. And once those have been beaten up a little bit, we're going to go ahead and on top of that, we're going to add in a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. And I am also using a cup and a half of eggnog in here. So we're going to whisk that up really well, get it well combined. Now, I know some recipes, or I've seen about half and half recipes that use cream cheese and recipes that don't. I decided again, make this a little bit simpler on myself. Don't pull out my blender to blend up the cream cheese in here, and just use the eggs and the sweetened condensed milk and the eggnog. So once that's well mixed, I'm going to again bring my bunt pan back, okay, and we're going to very carefully, and I'm going to use a spoon here to pour the flan on top of the cake mix. So as we pour just gently over this, that way it doesn't sink down in right away, because this cake, the choco flan that this is based on, is also known as an impossible cake. So what that means is, as you're baking this, right, you put the cake on the bottom and the flan on the top, and as you bake it, as the cake lightens up, it rises to the top and the flan sinks to the bottom, so that when you invert it, you have the layer of flan on top and the cake on the bottom. It's it's a magical thing that's going to happen. Hopefully it's going to happen because, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm making this recipe, so we'll see. um, I know some people I've seen have made this where they just bake it the way it comes out. So they'll put the flan in, they'll cook it partially till it's almost set, and then they'll put the cake in and cook it the rest of the way. But I'm trying it the traditional way. So, all right, this is going to now, I'm going to take my pan, and because this is so full, I'm going to take a ball of aluminum foil and stick it in the hole in the bunt pan just so nothing goes up over into there. Um, just as a precaution. Do what you want, right? So then I'm also going to take a piece of aluminum foil and I'm going to spray the side that's going to go on the top of the cake. I'm going to spray that again with my Baker's Joy, my baking spray, or again, vegetable oil or canola oil spray, whatever you have, so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the cake as it rises up. And I'm going to cover that, and we're going to put this into a very large roasting pan, one that's big enough, obviously, to hold the bunt pan. And then I'm going to pour in some hot water, and just want to make it probably about halfway at the sides or so. You definitely don't want it so full that it's going to get into the pan, because if it does, it could wreck the whole thing. Water and custards don't like each other. So if you get water in a custard that you're baking, it usually won't set really well. So, all right, this is now going to go in the oven for about an hour. I've already preheated my oven. It's on 400 degrees. I'm probably going to check this at about 45 minutes just to see how it's doing. So, keep an eye on it. 400 degrees, about like an hour, like I said. But when you insert a toothpick into the center of the cake, it should come out clean. And once that's done, we'll take it out and we'll bring it out to cool. And then it's got to go in the fridge and cool for a few hours so that we can then invert it and see what it looks like and give it a taste. I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Hey, foodie friends. So it's the next day, actually, because I decided after I baked this to go ahead and let it chill for overnight. I wanted to go at least 4 or 5 hours. And by that point, I was like, you know what? Let's just do it overnight. Come back tomorrow and we'll give it a taste. So, um, like I said, I started checking this at 45 minutes. At that point, I decided to go ahead and take the foil off. And then just let it bake a little bit more so it could get some color on top. So, our bottom, whichever, this is actually going to be the bottom, but so it could, continue baking and get some nice color on it. So, it actually ended up taking in total about an hour and 15 minutes for it to be completely done. Again, testing it with a toothpick or a cake tester. When it comes out clean, of course, it's done. So I'm going to just gently kind of get a little tiny rubber spatula in here. I'm pretty sure that this is good. I mean, it's a non-stick pan, plus I really did load it up with that Baker's Joy, like I said. And I've touched it a little bit to make sure it's kind of pulling away from the side. So I don't think it's going to be an issue unmolding it. I also did, it's been out of the fridge for about 20-30 minutes at this point. So I don't think there should be any issue with sticking, but we'll see. So here is the moment of truth. I'm going to take this. I'll put my cake stand on top, upside down, and confident. One quick move, we'll flip it over. All right. So give it a couple of taps. Maybe I should have used something that didn't have a lip on it. Oh, there we go. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Are you kidding me? That layer of flan on top and the pumpkin cake at the bottom. And look at that beautiful, gorgeous caramel sitting on top. This is going to be amazing. Now, so there's a good amount of caramel still in the bottom of my pan, but you know what? It's actually hardened up because we had it in the fridge probably, but I'm gonna go ahead and pour what I can over it. I mean, this is stunning, you guys. Okay, guys, that's it. I mean, it looks so good. I'm going in for a taste now. My fork just slid right in. Everything is so tender and moist. Mm, that is absolutely delicious. The cake is so moist. The flan is super creamy. And that little bit of caramel just adds the right amount of like kind of not uber bitterness, but a little bitterness and sweetness, and the eggnog flavor, not overpowering, just right, to be honest. Guys, this is so good. You are definitely going to want to make this. It'll be great on your Thanksgiving table next week or on your Christmas table. Um, Please check the link in the description box below. Get the full written recipe for this because you are definitely going to want to make it. Guys, thanks as always for joining me here on Getting Saucy with Chef Lynn. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lynn Wheeler. My website is cheflynnwheeler.com. And yeah, that's it for this amazing dessert. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, don't forget to check out my dessert playlist.